Hello everyone. So a lot of people have asked me over the last month why I never talked about this, and this is to do with President Zelensky when he came to Ireland. Now I'm sure majority of people have heard about it, the drone sightings off the coast of Ireland, pretty much off the coast of Dublin, may I say. And there's a lot of things to be talked about here, so just you have to bear with me, I suppose. There's a good few angles to talk about. But first of all, it's indictment on the government that they say they have footage from the WB Yeats, the Irish warship, the Irish naval ship that was off the coast of Dublin. During that time, they said they had evidence of the drones existing, that video evidence from the WB Yeats, but it has never been presented to the public. And I have asked the Department of Defence through an email, could I see the footage? Could it be released public under the Freedom of Information? Because the Irish people have a right to know why it wasn't shot down, why nothing was done about it. Basically, let it just fly around a warship of one of our warships and fly off to wherever it went, into Ireland, or it went off into the sea, etc. We'll talk about that in more detail now in a second. But just briefly to touch on people. But basically, President Zelensky came here, there was three or four big drones. We're not talking about amateur drones, we're talking about big drones. Going by the reports, we have no photocopy evidence, we have no photographic evidence, we have no video, we have nothing basically. The Irish state pretty much is like, trust me bro. That's pretty much their evidence. So, and you couldn't really trust the Irish state with anything, let's be fair. The Irish state is not trustworthy. So, but long story short, first of all, I want to address this. The reason why it took so long to address it, because I was waiting for the Irish state to show me something to say, yeah, this existed. So when I contacted the Department of Defence, they said there was an Garda investigation, yada 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 yada, and that's basically what I got, bullshit basically in my face. And they said to contact on Garda Síochána because it's a Garda investigation, it's the Special Detective Unit. And I didn't even bother my ass, because let's be fair, that would be the same answer that I would given. This fucking an investigation. Even though the national security of the state and the people that deserve to know what happened, because there was nothing really said. It was just said there's drones at the coast of Ireland. We don't know where they came from. We don't know where they went, where they come from. We don't know anything. We didn't shoot them down. We didn't do anything. Basically, we just sat down and looked at them. That's pretty much what the Irish state is telling me, and telling the people of Ireland, which is insane. So first of all, I want to address why was the WB Yeats? Did the Irish government have intelligence that something was going on? Because the WB Yeats, as you know, there's only two Irish warships on the high sea. The rest of them are all in port because they haven't got the manpower. So why was the WB Yeats specifically there, like on the off the coast of Dublin? Did they have intelligence? I know Zelensky was coming, but why did they have the warship there? That's what I'm trying to say. What was the thinking in the Department of Defence? So what was the whole mindset there? Did they have intelligence? Did they know something was going down? What was the story? Because that never was explained why the ship was just randomly there compared to, say, in Cork, because that's where the home base of the Irish fleet is, in Cork. So why was just hanging around there? Was it there because of Zelensky? Was there a threat made, etc.? We don't know. The Irish government won't tell us, refuses to tell us. And speaking of the WB Yeats, supposedly there was video recorded on the WB Yeats of it, and the government have not released that, and they should release it. They should release it literally right in an hour's time if they had it. They should release it as soon as it happened. But I think it's an indictment of the Irish state too, that the Irish Navy ships, in fact, they don't have any anti-aircraft capabilities or anti-drone capabilities, to say the least. But they did have machine guns. Now, depending if they worked, it's another thing if they did work, because as you know, the Irish Navy guns are not being serviced, they've been outsourced to other countries to look after them, because we can't employ our own technicians, we won't pay them. But they should have shot it down, and I would forward to an incident in the Second World War in Norway, particularly the sinking of the Bukka, the German light cruiser that went through the Oslo fjord, was stuck at Oslo's fortress. At the end of the day, it's up to the commander of whether, if it's a fortification, if it's a naval ship, to shoot. It's not up to, and again, especially the drones wasn't supposed to be there. It should have been shot down. There's no doubt in my mind. If I was the commander, even though I could have lost my job over it, I would say shoot first. If it's not supposed to be in Irish territory, shoot it down, blow it into bits. That's what I would say. Open fire. I know people would say it was near Dublin Airport and stuff, but it's still the national security of Ireland's more important than anything else. And yeah, I don't know what order, who gave the order not to shoot it down. Was the Minister for Justice at the time, Simon Howes? Was it the director of the chief of staff of the defence force, or was it the captain? Who was told not to shoot it down? Because if I was Minister for Defence, I would have said shoot it down, because then at least we would have the evidence, the bits of the bit that the drones left, that the drone was in 100 million bits, and we probably would know who's behind it. But we don't know, simple as that. We don't know where the drone went. We don't know what it went to. But there was, and I did see this, the only thing we have, there was a ship a bit off the Irish coast down in Wexford that we don't know what it was. But again, nobody ever looked into it. Nobody said they should have sent the Army Rangers out to seize the ship and to board the ship. It seemed like it was a fishing ship and stuff. But still, it should have been, the Irish Rangers should have been sent after that ship to intercept it. Or even if we went into British waters, the Royal Navy should have been there. Oh, this is the next question too. Was the Royal Navy involved? Was the Royal Air Force involved? Because as you know, there's an agreement with the Royal Air Force that if anything ever came over Irish skies, it's up to the Royal Air Force to shoot down, as we have no fighter jets. So that's another question. That was never explained too. Did we go to the Royal Navy? Or did the British intelligence tell us something? There was nothing ever explained. Did the Royal Navy know anything about it? Or the MI6 or MI5 know anything? Because surely they would be very concerned if the drones just disappeared. The Irish state can't tell us where they went to. They can't say if they went to that ship or they went into Ireland. If they went into Ireland, that's a serious indictment on the Irish state, that they didn't shoot them down. Because I'm sure they could have dispatched helicopters. They don't have fighter jets, but they could have dispatched helicopters to take shoot them sharpshooters on the side of the helicopter to shoot them down if necessary. But again, nothing was done. We basically sat there with our hands on our head. If this is the truth, because again, to be totally honest, I don't believe them. I think this was all pretty much made up in a way to get Ireland into NATO, to try and create a false flag. Because the first thing that every media in Ireland said, "Oh, let's join NATO. We have to join NATO." NATO was going to protect us. We've seen it in Denmark, etc. It doesn't matter. These drones turn up. There's nothing really you can do about it. You can shoot them down. But the whole answer was just join NATO. We don't need to join NATO because it was very clear that they could have shot them down. They really, really wanted to. Because literally, as it says in the report, well, not the report, but what was said, there was a soak in the ship, the LAWB Yates. And I don't get it how they didn't shoot them down. I don't know how the commander would sit there and say nothing and just let the drones fly around his ship. It's unimaginable that a commander, an Irish commander, would say something like that, would say not to shoot them down. It's irrexcusable. But not even that too. There's no really evidence to say this happened. We have no photographs or nothing, as I said earlier on. We just have trust me vote. That's pretty much the only explanation. So what did go on? We have and again, we have no radar in this country to say that it was there. The Irish Navy couldn't tell you if it was there or not. It could have been a victim of the imagination for all we know. But this is the thing. Obviously, the British would have radar covering Ireland too. So did the British Royal Navy or Royal Air Force see that on their radar? Because obviously these drones, so they say they were big, they weren't small drone. They would have turned up a military radar in an OAF base in Wales or something like that. I'm sure to God the British have some kind of radar to detect this stuff. So did the Irish government ever ask the British, was this ever turned up on their radar? But again, there was nothing, like as I say, to my knowledge and in my opinion, it didn't really happen, it seems. Because there's nothing been shown. We're a month on and nothing has been shown, and the government claimed to have video and they won't show it. And again, it's not like, what would the drones tell us basically if they did show us? They'll show us that it did happen, yeah, of course, but it won't show us, the way the government are doing, you think they're trying to protect people. That's the way they're trying to do here. Because it probably was pitch black, and I'm sure they had spotlights on it probably. But, they should release it, they really, really should. But, I don't believe that it really happened, to be totally honest, because there's no proof. We have word that there was a ship with its navigation systems turned off and off the coast of Wexford. But who knows what that ship was, because they were never investigated. It'd be different if the Irish government went and seized the ship and seized the people on the ship. But they didn't. The ship just disappeared and they never went after it, because they did have warships around the area. They could have went and seized it, or they could have set together a helicopter. They could have rang up the Royal Air Force to stop the ship, or to ring up the Royal Navy to stop it. But they didn't. They just sat there on their hands and said, "No, that's really what happened." But I don't know. I don't believe them, to be totally honest. I think the majority of people don't believe it, because they have really said no proof, and that's the thing. And I can't imagine, and I'm just sitting here as a person, if I was Minister for Defence, putting myself in that shoes, I couldn't imagine who, any person, any commander of any naval ship, taking order from a Minister for Defence or the Chief of Staff saying not to shoot down a thing that's flying around their ship. I can't imagine. I highly doubt we have them commanders in the Irish Navy that are afraid to shoot at things when they're not supposed to be there, because it wasn't Irish. It clearly wasn't an Irish drone, because the Irish government the Irish state doesn't know what a drone is. We're only kind of knowing what drones are now. But it clearly wasn't Irish, so whatever drone it was, it could be Russian, it could be God only knows who else. It could be China, it could be anybody. But clearly there are probably some, it's clearly not amateurs, it's clearly not just ordinary people. But, but I don't believe it. I don't believe that they happened. Maybe I'd be wrong, but I would say to the government to release the videos, because it's not like, it's not like they're going to do anything, because they haven't done anything already, so they might as well just release it. Because it's seriously concerning. If this did happen, that's very concerning. It can, as I say, consistently there. They didn't shoot it down. Like, it's unimaginable that somebody the order would be given not to shoot it down. And then they didn't bother to follow where it went to, and lost track of it. Like, it's insane. So yeah, but let me know what you think, because I'm very conflicted. I would like to trust what the defence forces, not so much the government. I couldn't give a shit about them, but I would like to trust what the men and women of the defence forces say. And some of them, we don't have any records of the only troops in the LAWB Yates saying, yeah, that this happened. There was no statements ever given to the public, at least, that this happened, that they seen this and they seen that. It was just basically the government saying, trust me, bro. But there's a lot of concern, as I said, there's a lot of concern about this. But yeah, I would suggest that the government first thing tomorrow release the files on this, release everything that you have, any information at all, because the Irish public deserve to know this is very serious stuff. Particularly if something did happen on our waters, we would want the Navy to to blow the object into Kingdom Come. That's what we want. If something was hostile in our territory, to blow it into a million bits, not to sit there and look at it. That's what we pay for naval guns on ships. That's the whole idea of a Navy, to protect the Irish state, and not to mention the defence force, the airco, etc. But yeah, so let me know what you think. But to be totally honest, I don't believe it. To the government, show me proof. Thank you.